Today we're talking about Ahrefs. Picture this. It's 2015. A marketing lead named Tim Saulo has spent an entire year writing what he genuinely believes is the best content in his industry. Deep articles, meticulous research, beautiful prose, and the traffic numbers refuse to move. 15,000 monthly visitors, stuck there, month after month. Here's the irony that kept him up at night. Ahrefs sold a tool that helped other companies grow their search traffic, and Ahrefs itself couldn't grow its own. Something had to break. And when it did, it didn't just fix a marketing problem. It rewrote the rules for how software companies grow. Today, Ahrefs generates more than $149 million in annual recurring revenue, fewer than 200 employees. No venture capital, no salespeople at all. This is the story of how a company built a growth engine almost nobody else was willing to try. Let's start with the foundation, because before there was a marketing miracle, there was an obsession with data. Ahrefs began around 2010. Its founder, Dmitry Gerasimenko, was a Ukrainian software developer with a very specific fixation: web crawling. He'd already watched one search project of his disappear in a server crash. That experience left a mark. Whatever he built next had to be resilient, technically bulletproof. At the time, the SEO software market had established players. Mazik were majestic, solid tools but with a shared weakness. Their backlink data went stale fast. And in the world of search, stale data is close to useless. SEO professionals were waiting days, sometimes weeks, to see whether their work was actually paying off. Gerasimenko's answer was a crawler called Ahrefs Bot. It became one of the most active crawlers on the entire internet, second only to Google's own. In 2011, that crawler powered the first product, Site Explorer. Its pitch was simple and, for the time, kind of shocking. Backlink data refreshed roughly every 15 minutes, not weeks, minutes. Now here's where the story takes its first contrarian turn. While competitors raised venture capital and scaled up sales teams, Gerasimenko went the other way. He bootstrapped the company with about $400,000 of his own money and reinvested every dollar of profit straight back into infrastructure. That single decision, staying independent, freed him from a pressure almost every venture-backed founder feels: the pressure to chase growth now at the expense of everything else. Without investors to please, he could play a longer game, prioritize technical integrity over quick wins. That philosophy led to one of the boldest bets in the company's history. Instead of running on the public cloud like nearly everyone else, Ahrefs built and ran its own servers and colocation data centers. By the company's own estimate, that single choice saved roughly $400 million over 3 years compared to an equivalent setup on AWS, and it let them index tens of trillions of backlinks. Think about what that means strategically. In a cloud-first industry, owning your own infrastructure sounds almost old-fashioned, but it became a moat, a technical advantage that better-funded competitors simply couldn't replicate because they'd already committed to someone else's cloud bill. So by the mid-2000s, Ahrefs had a genuinely superior product, fresh data, massive infrastructure, a real technical edge. And yet, the growth engine still hadn't ignited. That brings us back to Tim Saulo and that frustrating wall of 15,000 visitors. Saulo's epiphany was almost embarrassingly simple once he found it. He wasn't doing keyword research. He was writing what he found interesting, not what people were actually typing into Google. He was creating content for himself, not for the market. So he tore up the playbook and built a new framework around something he called business potential. Every piece of content got scored, 0 to 3. A 3 meant Ahrefs was an irreplaceable part of the solution to whatever problem the article addressed. A 0 meant the product had no place in it at all. Then came the radical call. Ahrefs would only publish content scoring a 2 or a 3. Everything else, no matter how well written, no matter how interesting, got cut. This was product-led content, and it inverted the standard marketing funnel most companies live by. Conventional wisdom says you nurture leads gently. Broad, top-of-funnel content first. Capture an email. Warm them up over weeks. Then, eventually, pitch the product. Ahrefs skipped nearly all of that. Someone searching how to do an SEO audit didn't get a generic listicle. They got a precise step-by-step walkthrough of doing that exact task inside Ahrefs. The article wasn't advertising the product. It was a demonstration of the product in written form. The company even pulled back from traditional lead capture. Less email gating, less reliance on Google Analytics, almost no retargeting ads. The bet was that if a reader could mentally use the product while reading the article, they'd convert directly, no nurture sequence required. The results validated the bet emphatically. In 4 years, blog traffic went from 15,000 to more than 250,000 monthly visitors. By 2021, Ahrefs crossed $100 million in annual recurring revenue. The lesson here is worth sitting with. In complex B2B markets, the most effective sales pitch is often not a pitch at all. It's a lesson. Teach someone how to solve their exact problem using your tool, and you've replaced a good chunk of what a sales team would otherwise have to do. Now, most companies, having found a winning formula, tend to smooth out their remaining rough edges. Lower friction. Make it easier to try the product. Ahrefs did the opposite. Most SaaS companies lean on freemium plans or 30-day free trials, lowering the barrier as much as possible. Ahrefs looked at its own tool and reached an unusual conclusion. It was too good for a free trial. A sufficiently skilled SEO professional could extract months of value in a matter of hours, then walk away having never intended to pay a cent. So Ahrefs introduced something that looked, on paper, like a terrible idea, a $7 7-day trial. A small paywall functioning as what you might call a yes ladder, a filter for people serious enough to invest even a small amount upfront. The logic was blunt. If someone wasn't willing to pay $7, they were extremely unlikely to commit to roughly $99 a month down the line. That small friction point did double duty. It reduced the load on support and infrastructure from casual users, and it raised the overall quality of the customer base. Eventually, Ahrefs grew confident enough in its content engine to drop the trial altogether and require full subscription upfront. This defiance extended into how the company built its team. While a rival like SEMrush scaled past 1,000 employees, Ahrefs stayed lean, reaching roughly $1 million in revenue per employee. No sales team, ever. Not because salespeople aren't valuable, but because Ahrefs didn't want a growth-at-all-costs culture. It wanted a product-first culture, where every single support ticket was treated not as a nuisance, but as evidence of a product flaw worth engineering out of existence. There's a broader principle buried in all of this. Ahrefs kept winning by being the only one, the only tool with near real-time data, refresh, the only major player charging for a trial instead of giving it away, the only significant SaaS company at its scale with no sales team at all. Real competitive advantage often lives exactly where you're tempted to follow the industry's unwritten rules. Ahrefs kept finding it by refusing to, which brings us to the present, and arguably Ahrefs' hardest test yet. AI search and zero-click results are reshaping how people find information online. Ahrefs' own research suggests that Google's AI overviews can meaningfully cut click-through rates even for pages ranking at the very top. For a company whose entire business is built on search engine optimization, that is about as existential as a threat gets. True to form, the response has been characteristically inventive rather than defensive. Ahrefs reframed its own mission, from search engine optimization to what it now calls search everywhere optimization. The company recognized something important early. AI models like ChatGPT and Perplexity don't generate answers from nowhere. They lean heavily on third-party citations and sources. So Ahrefs launched a brand monitoring tool called Brand Radar and began integrating with AI platforms through the emerging Model Context Protocol. The underlying thesis is striking. In an AI-driven search world, brand mentions become the new backlinks. Large language models tend to surface the brands that show up most often in high-authority contexts. Ahrefs keeps feeding that authority by publishing original research, including a widely cited finding that the overwhelming majority of web pages receive no traffic from Google at all. Every time that data gets cited elsewhere, Ahrefs stays inside the loop that AI models draw from. The very disruption threatening its business is becoming a new distribution channel for its data. So what does this story actually teach us? First, product-led content can function as your sales team. Teaching, when it's specific and genuinely useful, converts better than persuading. Weave your product directly into the solution for a high-intent question, and you've replaced much of what a funnel is supposed to do. Second, infrastructure can be a moat, not just a cost center. In a cloud-first industry, owning your technical stack outright can become a durable advantage that competitors locked into someone else's platform simply cannot match. And third, there is real courage in being the only one. Ahrefs built its entire growth story on decisions that looked, from the outside, like mistakes. A paid trial, no sales team, no venture funding. Each one broke an industry norm. Each one became a strength. Ahrefs went from a Ukrainian developer's crawling experiment to a company generating roughly $150 million in annual recurring revenue, without the capital, headcount, or sales machinery most people assume you need to get there. What it needed instead was an obsession with data quality, a marketing team that thought like product managers, and the discipline to say no to convention again and again. As the search landscape shifts toward AI and zero-click answers, Ahrefs' moat remains exactly what it always was: the freshest data, the most genuinely useful content, a product confident enough to speak for itself. This was the marketing behind rapid growth. See you in the next episode.